Welcome back to Qween of Cups.
I'm Afura.
I'm Ashera.
And today is a new moon, and it's also what I like to call February's Eve, aka Imbolc.
Indeed. So yeah, we're not going to be spending too much time focusing on Imbolc. It's one of those in-between holidays. It's St. Bridget's Day. So St. Bridget, she was used to be the goddess Bridget, and as we know, a lot of saints were used to be goddesses, and when paganism was Christianized, then they either became a demon or they became a saint. But it's the halfway point between the darkest night of the year and the equinox. So cool.
Yeah, a little bit about Bridget, which, by the way, I'm not at all an expert in gods and goddesses, but I just happen to know this just because from being around. But what's cool about what they say about Bridget was that, like, they tried to turn all of the other gods and goddesses into demons or just get rid of them completely, but Bridget was so well loved that they just couldn't do anything but turn her into a saint, and she kind of ended up being the divine feminine, like, aspect of the Irish Christian culture at the time.
Definitely, yeah. There's that, and of course we have Mother Mary, which we gave a huge shout out to at the solstice because that's sort of her time to shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Bridget, she has her own cross, which I think is interesting. But yeah, we don't know a ton about St. Bridget. So, and it seems to be one of those holidays because she was so driven underground that we lost a lot of those traditions. And so some neo-pagans and neo-druids, they try and really recreate those things. I sort of just use it as a passage of time. And speaking of passage of time, let's do a little check-in since
it's been a while.
Since what we've done since the solstice. I feel like that's a good segue, if any. So, yeah. You take it away, because you manifested a time, so...
Oh my gosh. So, yeah. So I guess the last time we were talking about how my entire life was in shambles. It continued to be in more shambles after that, but it all just kind of came together magically at some point. So, essentially, I think last time we were talking about how my cat survived, so you guys are caught up on that part. Ashera actually has a new baby.
I do. I got her on the solstice. I know that we aired on the solstice, but we can't do everything at once, so spoiler alert, this is done a little ahead of time. Yeah, her name is Mimsy because I'm a big Lewis Carroll fan, so it's from the Jabberwocky. So she's a mimsy little Boragove. Yeah, she was a super neglected little cat. You'll see her if we film the next one at my house or something. So
you know what? She might be in the footage from our Witches Circle.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true.
That'll be out at some point.
We're footloose and fancy free. But yeah, super neglected little cat. She's just like me. She's got a raspy voice and an attitude. And a funny haircut because she was like shaved all the way down.
Really?
Yeah, because she was like super neglected, which is sad. But I mean, now she's at my house, so she's a happy little creature.
No, she's probably too loved.
Oh man, yeah, no, she pretty much like rules everything. So on the cat front, it's way happier news than we had for solstice or Samhain, and so yeah, that's the manifestation train. All my banishment stuff has been slowing down a little bit, that was exhausting. It's nice to like we were talking a lot about last time about having that space between Samhain and the solstice of that darkness where you just sort of have to like sit there and be like, everything's empty and wow.
It's sometimes a complete reset point, and other times it's like you don't even notice that things are changing, and you're like, why aren't things changing? Like I've kind of noticed that, like for me and for other people that I've talked to. The period between, like, I don't know, around the winter solstice. So it could be the end of fall, or it could be the, like, this time, this, like, February's Eve time. Kind of all of that is usually where people either want to be moving forward with intentions or resolutions.
Yeah.
But, like, everything feels stagnant and they're wondering why nothing is happening. Or on the complete flip side of that, people just, like, everything suddenly the universe opens up and just shakes everything away, and they're like, what's going on? I don't, like, that was me this year.
Sometimes it's a little column A, a little column B too, because like sometimes like what is being shook up, like you don't realize that, well, there's this like hurricane going on, that there's all this other stuff that's like germinating. So it's like one of my favorite runes is Isa, and it's like standstill and it's ice, and it's like that period where you just don't feel like you can do anything productive, and you're like, yo, just why? But you have to understand that under all that ice, like the little seeds in the ground, they're starting to germinate and they're starting to sprout, and
so you can feel something rumbling on the inside of you, but you're not seeing the manifestation of it yet, and you're like, what is going on? And you're like restless.
And honestly, like it's really frustrating, especially like with like the rune philosophy, because you're like, yo, like where the hell is like this breakthrough that I keep seeing? Like I keep getting like breakthrough in my reading, and I'm like, well, it doesn't really feel like a breakthrough right now, but like honestly, you kind of need that time, that chill time
to like process.
Yeah, because you talked a little bit last time about like you have to be prepared for your dreams to like your dreams to come true. You have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Like if it just all happened at once, you'd be like, you wouldn't even know what to do with it. So like
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what happened to me this year. Like, I can say that last year around this time was that weird stagnancy and feeling like I wanted to take action, feeling like an epiphany was supposed to be coming and it just wasn't. Whereas this year, like, the universe just, like, completely pulled the rug out from under me in every imaginable way. So, for one, as you guys know from the last episode, I had some crazy shit going on in my old apartment, and then I manifested a new one, so here we are.
That's why we're filming here. Yep. And it's beautiful. It is super beautiful, and like safe space, no crazy neighbors. We're gonna knock on wood.
Yeah,
We don't need any of that. That would be fine if we didn't have that.
Yeah. So, well, I actually, like I said in the last episode, I manifested my move-in date to be the actual winter solstice. So, like, there for me was this incredibly weird space between the winter solstice and, like, the beginning of, like, 2019, where just everything was in boxes, everything was completely new. I'm in a completely new part of town that I'm not used to, and I also manifested a breakup at that exact time.
Oh, and we'll get into love magic in a little bit.
We'll get into that. So essentially, I was just, and for context, like Ashera and all of our other friends kind of live more in the city, and I'm more in the suburbs now, and I don't have a car at the moment. So it was almost just like I was in this isolated hibernation. You know, I was completely alone and completely in a like weird place, and it was cozy and comfortable, but it wasn't familiar at all, and what was going on the inside and the outside were both unfamiliar, and I basically just had to go through a complete spiritual like epiphany situation. And I've realized that everything in my life is actually like really open for complete newness for this year. Yeah. Like I literally manifested the breakup because I absolutely did not want to break up with this person. But there was a lot of just underlying drama in the relationship that had always been there. And I had kind of set this intention. I was like, I don't want any drama in 2019. I don't want anything holding me back from like these new projects and things and developments that I want to be working on. So the universe was like, oh, you don't want any drama in 2019? Well, how about you're going to find out something you don't want to know about your partner on literally New Year's Eve. So I was like, okay, thanks, universe. This is so wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah. They really went solid on the dates for you, huh? Yeah.
Very solid on the dates this time.
I mean, I had a similar thing where it was like, no bullshit, 2K19, and I got my favorite rune, Tewaz, which I wear most days on my neck, tattooed on the back of my neck. And that one is about cutting away the dead and the extraneous, so that way you can grow and you can be more fully yourself, but it can be a painful process to cut that away. But since I've been blathering about the runes a lot, I did say last time that I was going to try and expand my practice, and I'm really proud to say that I have. This one was a bit more aesthetic with our whole altar here, but I have my other deck too. But I've had this deck since middle school, Dragon Tarot, and it's been really like...
Oh my gosh, I love these.
Yeah, they're so cute. And then I started out by expanding my practice by starting doing one card a day and journaling about it and getting used to... I'm still not used to all the numbers, but getting used to what each of the suits mean. Mm-hmm. And once I kind of got comfortable, I was just like, sort of, what do I need to do today? And pulling one. And then that stopped being completely useful for me, and so I've been experimenting. Then I moved to 3. And
does
being
each
like,
card represent something?
Yeah, and I try and put my intention in that when I draw them. Like, I shuffle them, like, can I do past, present, future? Or what are 3 things I need to know about the subject? With relational things, like a 3-card spread of what my view on the situation is, what their view is, and what's the course of action.
Oh, that's a good one.
I've done a 4-card spread where it's the issue at hand, past influences, ponder this, and the course of action to take, which has been really helpful as well. And I've done like 1 eyeball spread, which I can't go off the top of my head.
Eyeball spread.
Yeah, it's in my book, but and then when I had a bunch of girls over from Wine and Witchcraft is my custom. I'm pretty sure Bridget left this over here. Not the saint, but she is a wonderful girl. She left it at my house, and that's been really cool to just sort of see what's up. And I definitely found my favorite card. Like, Tewas is my rune, the one that when it falls in a spread that I know like I'm doing the right thing. And I found that my card is the Queen of Swords. Like, every time, if I have a question, like sometimes if I'm shuffling it, like the Queen of Swords just pops out and I'm like, all right, we're good. Like,
I'm like imagining the Queen of Swords holding the Tewas.
Yeah, basically. It's a lot of like, and my interpretation of the Queen of Swords is she's just like, it's like a woman that has seen some shit and has definitely like smart, analytical, like wants to get things done, but is also like she's ready for the next battle. She's ready for her next adventure, and she wants to go out and kick some ass and take some names, which is just something I really vibe with. So
sounds like you.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite card, by the way?
I do. Well, for one, I always love the star card because it is, and this is on point with today, it is the Aquarius card.
Yes.
So, it's that image of the woman pouring water over the earth and working with the elements to create something playfully but also consciously, and it kind of just represents conscious manifestation, and like realizing that you don't have complete control over the universe, but that you can use your tools to co-create your experience. So I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And then I also really tend to like the Hermit, which the Hermit pretty much represents a lot like what I was just saying about that phase that I had at the very beginning of the year when I was just like completely isolated and going through a spiritual thing. Mm-hmm. And it's the concept of consciously choosing the path less traveled and like walking alone in order to understand what's going on inside of you instead of getting distracted by outside stimulus. So
that makes sense.
For example, like literally the night that the breakup happened, I was supposed to go to a New Year's Eve party with my now ex-boyfriend's friends. He wasn't gonna go because whatever, like he just decided to do something else with his life. But I was like, well, they're still my friends. I could go to that. And so I asked my pendulum, I said, pendulum, would it be ideal for me to, get out of this slump and go out to this party? And it said no. And as soon as it said that, I knew that it wasn't just my ego being afraid to go out and wanting to like feel sorry for myself. That was my higher self telling me that I really needed this time to myself in order to properly process what I was going through. So I was like, okay, hermit mode. So,
definitely.
Those are probably my 2 favorites.
Oh yeah. Speaking of pendulums, I got my mom one for solstice, and she had experimented with wine in the past, and it just sort of went back and forth, and she was like, I don't get it. But I'm really happy to report I got her one for solstice, and she was like, she just did some higher work with it, some just discerning work, and she talks to me and she's like, that was amazing. And so was really happy that I was introduced to that tool through you. So
Really?
yeah. I mean, you and Bridget
Cool.
had shown me a little bit, and I'm gonna have to commission one from you at some point because
Oh, of course.
yes,
I'll make it as like, I don't know, whatever the
as
next
Tay-Wazy
holiday
as
is.
possible.
I'll give it to you as a gift for whatever the next important situation is.
Perfect.
Maybe it'll be like a spring equinox present. I don't know.
Cool. Whatever, man. But yeah, can people buy pendulums from you? Do you sell the pendulums? Or?
I mean, technically you can commission me for one. I used to make them for my shop, but I really do not put any effort into my shop anymore unless somebody really wants me to. So.
Okay. So shoot her an email and
shoot me an email.
see where it's taken her that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we brought up Aquarius energy, and something I've been wanting to talk about for a while is ways to use the zodiac in a way that is not douchey. So, so I guess I'll enumerate on that briefly in that, like, I think the zodiac is a really helpful tool. Plenty of people, like, you can use it to sort of understand yourself better if that's what you subscribe to, because I think that there are some archetypes there that can be helpful. But if you're like, oh no, I'm a Virgo, so I just can't do that, then like,
yeah,
dude,
you're, like,
stop it.
Using
like,
it to make excuses for your behavior.
because no one is like, oh, I'm a Taurus, so I'm awesome at this. It's always like they use it to say what they can't do. And I mean, I will say that I might have written the book on being a Sagittarius because I'm like, I'm just gonna like keep traveling and drinking wine and just partying and being
also
friends with
doing
everyone.
27 projects.
Yeah, doing 27 projects. But I think what's more helpful is to talk about, like, to use the entire wheel of the year and the passing of time to be like, okay, for Capricorn season, it's there for a reason. It's there to like buckle down, get your shit together, and do your stuff. Sagittarius season is there to be with friends and to eat and drink and socialize and travel and celebrate. But now we're in Afura's sign. It's almost her birthday. It's Aquarius season.
Yeah.
So take it away.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because, like, part of the inspiration for this show, whether you know it or not, was actually a show from a few years ago by Zoe Astro and Laura Deligan, and it was called The Witches. What was it called? The Witches Zodiac.
Oh.
And essentially it was just two girls got together, one who was very pagan and very into the Wheel of the Year, and another who was really into astrology.
Oh,
and
cool.
they basically superimposed the astrological wheel over the Wheel of the Year and broke down like how the personal development aspects of the zodiac fit into what's happening each time of the year.
I'd been thinking about that myself, so I'm glad to hear that somebody else had sort of like been like, wait, oh, you can actually sort of think about, and I like that the signs move in elements too.
Mm-hmm.
I find that really helpful. But yeah, I definitely know the most about channeling Sagittarius energy, but that's not the time of the year right now. So we can do that next December because we already talked about the solstice. But I'm really curious about what your thoughts on like harvesting Aquarian energy are, and what it's like to be in the age of Aquarius. You know, like
yeah. I mean, honestly, I would love to like throw in a little bit of zodiac chat for each of our things, each of our episodes. But yeah, Aquarius, and this is even going on the same note as like you asking, people can buy pendulums from you, right? And I'm like, oh no, that was 10 businesses ago. Like that's and yeah, like that's an Aquarius thing. I'm not really all about like making excuses based on your sign. I'm about looking at like what are the good things about your sign and how can you use that to propel yourself forward. So instead of being like, oh, I'm an Aquarius, so like I never finish anything. I just start projects and then I'm off chasing another butterfly. Like that used to be me. I was a jack of all trades, master of none for many years. But I'm all about figuring out what your biggest perceived weaknesses are and changing them into your biggest strengths. So for me, I'm like, oh, I noticed this pattern of being a jack of all trades, master of none. So I have lots of random skills, and instead of putting energy into them all separately and never actually creating anything of substance, I've kind of gotten this discipline. I've used the fixed part of being, the fixed sign part of being a Aquarius to use my stubbornness in a particular focused direction. So like when I started my first business that was an actual real business that was, making the journals, I really was like, okay, I'm going to just focus on making these journals, but as the other skills that I've adapted over my years of being a crazy Aquarius start to like come in handy in propelling this business forward, I will incorporate them only in ways that are helping this business forward instead of letting myself get distracted by them. So then, I incorporated a blog, I incorporated teaching courses, I incorporated making pendulums and other tools and adding that to my shop once I had a niche,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then of course that was like ages ago, and now I'm a business coach. But
it seems like what you did, instead of being like, I'm bored of this, like I'm going to start something new, it instead became like this becomes a building block for this.
Exactly.
And it's working with the energy that you have. So like for me personally, with my like, crazy Sagittarius energy, and I, for whatever reason, I'm a high energy person, and I just had to come to terms with that, because I must be just absolutely exhausting for my friends and family and loved ones. But I realized that I just get really frustrated if I'm hanging around low energy people, and it's okay if you're low energy. Like be low energy, take a nap, like have a little snack, but like if we're gonna be kicking it for like a while, like come on, like let's go. Like,
let's do something.
Yeah. And so like I'm doing my best to temper that by like self-care and acknowledging that I too need downtime, even when I'm like, well, I could do something else. But making sure I'm around other creative people that want to move forward and that want to,
This is why we get along so
well. Sagittarius and Aquarius, we always do.
We're both Ariuses.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for that. So I'm glad you were able to channel it, and yeah. So
like ways that other people who are not an Aquarius, that's the concept of like working with the wheel of the year and the zodiac together. So like this being the time of year when the year has just started, and maybe you're not fully immersed in your projects yet, but maybe you've just gone through some weird shaking things up and you felt into some new thing and you're starting to get inspired. Taking that into the wisdom of Aquarius, Aquarians are all about reinvention, because I don't know if everyone knows this. Usually we think of Aquarius as the symbol of the pouring water, but another symbol for Aquarius is actually two zigzag lines, and it's thought that the two zigzag lines represent energy. And what does energy do? It moves, it changes, it evolves, very quickly. It's always shifting form. Yeah. So, like, every single year around, like, as soon as the sun goes into Aquarius, I go through some major breakdown, some major breakthrough, and I make some really big changes and cuts in my life. Mm-hmm. So the way that you, whether you're an Aquarius or not, can actually harness this energy is take whatever whatever shifts happened to you at, the new year, and then feel into that for a while, and then use it to make decisions on how you're going to very rapidly jump into a new reality. And it doesn't mean that you have to put pressure on yourself to change everything at once. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just saying shifting your inner vibe and deciding you know what, I have never let myself want a designer purse before, but now I'm gonna let myself desire it, and maybe I can manifest it this year. But that doesn't mean you have to come up with the $2,000 and go buy it tomorrow. It's really just about allowing yourself to have that shift in perspective and fully owning that you've had that, and that's what's going to create the change.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think it's the aqua pronoun. It took me forever to be Aquarius, air sign.
It's confusing.
It's very confusing, but when you said the little lines, because I'm it's water, what the hell? You said like those are energy. I was like, oh, like that makes so much sense for everything. So yeah, I think I like to use what I've been doing is just like thinking about each sign as a lesson. So.
Oh, I like that. What is the lesson of each sign? Tell me.
Each one. I'm still exploring this, but like, like with Capricorn that we just left, like that makes sense that that's when people would be making resolutions and being like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then followed by the Aquarian energy of, okay, like we're really going to kickstart this. But then you can kind of taper it off with Pisces and then be like, okay, you did all this like outward work. Like now, like
let me feel into how this is processed.
Yeah. It's like if we just stuck with each thing forever, like we wouldn't get anything done. You need
you need those chefs.
You need the wheel of the year. We are releasing this on Imbolc, as you might have noticed, unless you don't have a calendar and have no concept of time. Not because we have terrible time management skills, but because life is busy and that's just the way the cookie crumbled.
I think we have terrible time management
We do have terrible time management skills. All right, I was trying to do that reframe. That working with our perceived weaknesses.
Let's be positive.
Yeah. They're creative time management skills. But because it's like almost Valentine's Day, I thought it might be kind of jazzy to talk a little bit about love magic and different facets of it. So yeah, do you have anything off the top of your head you want to say, or you want me to just take it from here?
Off the top of my head, well, actually, the first thing that comes to the top of my mind is I'm always curious about like whether pagans are being authentic and celebrating Valentine's Day or not.
Oh,
and it's not even a thing of judgment, because there's actually a few different ways you can look at this, and I just like to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I don't take it very seriously because it's not on the wheel of the year.
Yeah.
That's what's important to me is astronomical holidays.
Oh, totally.
But that being said, going into the other concept of paganism, that it is based on like ancient Greek and Roman and stuff like that, like the story of Saint Valentine and all of that can actually be taken into account. In fact, of course, it's not readily available at the moment, but I do have a book called The Pagan Book of Days.
Ooh.
And yeah, like Saint Valentine's Day is one of them. It's just like all of these crazy obscure holidays from ancient times and like what they were originally supposed to be about and how people celebrated them. Oh, look, our handy dandy cameraman just pulled this book
really
out of nowhere. Thanks, dude.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Exactly. Which is lying right now. But yeah, like maybe even if I think it's in there, like if you can find it. But I just find it interesting, depending on like what part of paganism you're drawn to will change your answer of whether or not it is authentic to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, I'm really jazzed because one of my favorite symbols is labyrinth, and that was like the first thing in there. So very cool. Girls should decorate their pillows with 5 bay leaves to dream of their lover and husband-to-be. In England on this day, an arch of brambles is carried to banish unwelcome spirits. In Scandinavia, there's a tradition of running labyrinths on this day. So now you know, and I didn't know this either, so that's cool. Yeah, I mean...
So many weird things in that book.
It seemed like it was kind of timely to talk about that sort of energy that's with it, with this time of the year, with Imbolc, with newness, with banishment, with all this stuff. Because wherever you are in your dating life, love life, marriage, divorce life, I don't know what you're working with, but it's just an interesting thing to talk about. And I think like one of the things that is really important to understand about any sort of witchcraft is that I'm really of the opinion you shouldn't cast spells on people. Like, like there's not like...
That's just kind of shitty.
Yeah, and you also might end up with something you really don't want, because like, it's more of a, in my opinion, it's like you got to work with what the energy you're given and the energy that is surrounding you. And if somebody is not vibing with you, you can't be like, well, I just did this thing and now they love me. And if you did, they might love you a little too much, and then they send you hair in the mail or something like really crazy. So like
either that or like you're both not really happy, but you can't break the connection, and then it's a toxic karmic relationship.
And yeah, nobody has time for that. I certainly do not have time for that. But one thing I do, because for those that don't know all of our podcasts, I'm also, besides a bartender, I'm a couples counselor. So I do some protective work because I deal with people that are in crises. I do a lot with breakups, and I do a lot with sexual dysfunction, and a lot of affairs.
So you know all people's business.
Dude, between bartending and couples counseling, like
the city, you know everything about
yeah. But I have to do some protective work, especially on particularly hard days. I mean, it's like self-care and stuff. But I've actually been starting to carry rose quartz with me.
Oh, nice.
Just to protect me. And sometimes I'll bring like clear quartz or maybe some hematite. If I'm working with somebody that they're trying to like spark some more sexuality into their sex life, carnite. I'm definitely saying that one right. It's one of the red songs. Redstone.
I don't think I know
Carmenite or something. I don't know. Some breeder will know. I know.
I think I have hematite if anyone wants to know what that looks like.
Oh, hematite? Yeah. Oh, well, I'll carry some hematite to get some stuff away from me. But I've been carrying a lot of rose quartz with me. I'm thinking about getting like
a pendant.
A pendant or like one of those dermal implants with some rose quartz on it, just so it's always there, so I don't have to think about it.
Just like stick it in your skin, and you'll never have to put your jewelry on again.
It was interesting because I try and keep it in my pocket, but I did notice like on particularly hard sessions, like I would like when I'm listening to people, I would like cover my chest right here. I'd cover that chakra, and I never really fucked around with chakras too much, but I just thought it was an interesting physiological response where I was like, all right,
like you're literally shielding yourself.
Yeah, and because it is really hard to be a helper personality and have that as your profession, and when you're sitting there and you're watching people break up and like really just go through the worst days of their life, like, and to just be like, okay, I gotta take that energy and I just gotta like, blah, shake it off.
You don't want to take that home with you.
Yeah, I don't need to, so that's why I mean, I'm not one of those people that like think crystals are better than like antibiotics or something like that, but like it's the intention you put into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's that, and I'm definitely a big fan of doing ritual work with some clients in a way, especially those that are going through really shitty breakups or something like that. Like,
I mean, the power of ritual when you're going through a change is phenomenal.
Yeah. So I definitely encourage people to, like, if they have mementos from like a toxic ex, like if it's safe, like don't go and get yourself in trouble, and definitely don't pick up pyromania for funsies. Like,
what?
Yeah. But I'm like, oh, you got like a bunch of like manipulative. Jesus, the champagne's getting me. Letters from your toxic ex. If you have something like that, destroy it. Destroy it with a loved one, and get that nasty energy out of there. Like, or if that's not safe, like take all your anger, like put it all in a rock and like throw it in the river, because like the earth can handle it. Like you don't need to carry it forever.
That is so true.
So love magic, yeah.
Yes.
There's lots of things you can do.
And there's lots of things you shouldn't do.
Lots of things you shouldn't do, and we're not going to get into all of that because I don't have time for that. Some correspondences that are really good for that. I enjoy roses, of course, rose quartz.
Ashera brought some lovely roses.
I did, yeah. Especially like if they're from something, like those intentions are in there, all those good intentions. If it's from like someone terrible, I don't know if I would want to use them, but.
Don't use your horrible ex-boyfriend's leftover roses. Just don't do it.
No, those are from a wedding that didn't last very long, but there's still a time and a place for those. But yeah. So yeah, do you have anything you want to add about love magic, or What's your
I just feel
experience?
like I need to make a public service announcement about love magic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, let's
cheers to
that.
that. We haven't cheersed very much.
We didn't. And I haven't cursed as much as I did last time. Last time I was swearing like a truck stop sailor. I don't think that's
Considering
the same.
this is the Valentine's Day episode, it's actually been a very clean episode.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, love magic. Things you shouldn't do. I'm not even going to list all of the things you shouldn't do because there's a very long list. But going off of the note of what you said earlier about like you don't believe in casting spells on people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either because I'm very, as an Aquarius, I am very much about free will. And you know, I wouldn't want somebody trying to control me. So like, why would I try and control another person?
Yeah.
So I was all on my like high horse several years ago now, being like, oh, I'm like such a good witch. I don't cast spells on people, but I can cast spells about people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, for some reason, I thought it would be a cool idea to cast a love spell, and I said that I was casting the spell on myself, which like I believe that the most powerful and most responsible spell that a witch can cast is on herself, not on another person.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's this rule that everyone always says, don't try to manifest a specific person because that will blow up in your face. And I was like, oh, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, that means for everyone else, not this time.
So like I kind of had this intention that was like, you know, if it is for the highest good of both parties involved, like I didn't insert that in there because I didn't want it to be a thing of like trying to control anyone that doesn't want to be involved. Like it was this thing where I was kind of talking to this person and I felt that there was definitely something between us, but that he was being standoffish for some reason, and I guess I got really excited and energized and was like, what if I just did a spell to kind of push things forward a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And let's just say that it blew up in my face in some interesting ways. First of all, an interesting fact about right now is that all of the planets are going direct right now.
Oh, yeah, after the year of the retrograde.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the year that I cast that spell, there at that exact time, all of the planets were going retrograde.
Ah!
Yes, every last one of them, I think. And
nightmare times.
Yeah. So this part of me was like, oh, I know everyone says you shouldn't cast spells about specific people and you shouldn't cast spells when things are going retrograde, but I'm feeling this right now and I'm just going to follow my intuition, right?
Yeah.
But I probably didn't go through a system of checks and balances to see if I was actually following my intuition or my ego. I just kind of responded to a spur of the moment situation. So I cast this spell, and the spell was for, you know, things to move forward with me and this person, you know, for the highest good of all. And it was for the highest good of all, because what ended up happening was I cast the spell on myself. I was not in a healthy state of mind at the time. I was not having healthy habits at the time. I wasn't fully confident in myself at the time, but I basically cast this spell to make myself think that I was fully confident, even though I wasn't.
Oh,
and so I kind of like made a move on this person, and they rejected me, and I was completely, my ego was completely ripped a new one. And then, essentially what ended up happening after that was that people with the same name as that guy started coming out of the freaking woodwork. And I mean, like, no joke. Like, people on Facebook that, you know, claimed that they knew me in college, but I didn't really remember them. People who added me and I was like, oh, that person looks familiar. Maybe I met them at an event. And then I would ask them and I'd be like, did we meet at this event? And they're like, no, I just found you and wanted to know if you'd go on a date with me. And I'm like, no. What is going on?
You became a magnet and they were all on the same name?
They all had the same name as the guy. And so I was just like, all right, this is freaking crazy. I get it. I screwed up. my bad. I'm just going to retreat back into hermit mode for a while.
Great. Yeah.
And then, so like after things started to simmer down and started to seem any semblance of normal again after a few months, or no, it wasn't even a few months. Okay, going back here a little bit. I cast that spell, I think at the beginning of a moon cycle, so around a new moon.
Yeah,
and by the following new moon, the guy who had rejected me came back and apologized for rejecting me and was like, oh, you know, I actually do really like you. I just, you know, didn't want to get involved because X, Y, and Z. But by then, here's the real kicker. By then, I had started dating a person who also had that name.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was a really weird and bizarre situation, and you know, the relationship that I did end up manifesting as a result of all of that, I think was a very important relationship in my life, and I don't regret it.
Yeah.
But like there was just so much tension and so much craziness around the entire situation, and so much dramatic emotional upheaval throughout the entire process. It was one of those things where, like, my belief about magic is that when you cast a spell, you have to be prepared for the result of that. So if you're casting a spell to find the person you're supposed to date for the next chapter of your life, but you're gonna like take it upon yourself to like cast the spell and force things forward, whether the energy is really ready or not, you have to deal with your ego getting ripped a new one. You have to deal with crazy people coming out of the woodwork. You have to deal with like all of the different things that might come from taking something that might have naturally been meant to take longer or to go down a little bit differently, and you're trying to force it into a faster and more rapid process. And so you have to deal with whatever intense evolution and personal growth you're going to be forced to go through in that like faster time period. So I am glad I did that because it taught me a lesson and I learned a lot and I became a lot more mature from that, but it was crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh totally. Yeah, and I mean I think that it's really wise to sort of take those lessons, learn from them, and yeah. Let's learn some more. Let's
keep learning.
Let's keep learning, and hopefully we have a little bit more equilibrium. Things are less hurricaney by the time we hit the equinox. And I think, you know, that's our show.
I guess that's our show, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Blessed be. Bye.